Let's talk about space and dimensions, because one of the most common questions people have is, where can I actually put an endless climbing wall? The good news is that the wall is extremely flexible when it comes to placement. You can build it in a garage, inside your home, on a balcony, or even outside as long as the area is covered from rain. Basically, anywhere you have around 2.5 meters of width available, you can set up an endless wall. The only real limitation is the height, and we already talked about that in a previous chapter. Now let's go through the actual dimensions of my wall, so you have a concrete reference for your planning. My wall is 2.45 meters tall, 2.10 meters wide, and 35 centimeters deep. These are the outer dimensions of the entire structure. When it comes to the height, there are a few important things to consider. At the bottom, between the floor and the first row of climbing holes, I left around 15 centimeters of space when the wall is in a vertical position. When I tilt the wall to 35 degrees, that 15 centimeters shrinks down to about 5 centimeters. So if you plan to climb on an incline, make sure you include this change in clearance in your design. At the top, I left only 10 centimeters between the climbing board and the ceiling. And even with that small distance, the holes rotate without any issues. The total width of the wall is 2.10 meters. Out of that, the actual climbing width is 1.7 meters. The remaining width comes from the main frame and from the fixed wooden beams on the sides, where I placed additional holes for resting or pausing during a session. At the upper left corner, I also planned an extra 20 centimeters of space for the brake system and the axle that sticks out. This is something you absolutely need to plan for, because the brake and the shaft take up real space and cannot be squeezed in afterward. Now let's talk about depth. My wall sits about 15 centimeters away from the real wall behind it. That 15 centimeter gap is fully used by the pulley system, so in my case, the wall cannot go completely vertical, but it gets very close. If you leave a bit more than 15 centimeters, you could make the wall stand perfectly vertical if you prefer. Finally, behind me when I climb, I have roughly 2.5 meters of space. That is enough to climb comfortably without feeling constrained. You don't need a huge amount of space behind your back. 2.5 meters is plenty. So when planning your own wall, think about width, height, depth, and the small details like brake clearance and rotation distance. With the right measurements, the wall can fit into many different environments and you can adapt it to your specific home.